I'm a very talented, capable individual. I'm here for a reason. I can do it.
What an idiot I've been as a young person in this industry who has no filter and no idea what she's doing.
It's kind of sinking in more and more that tomorrow is happening and the trailer is coming out.
But it's also really important to me that I share with you not only the really good, exciting moments, but also like the little blips where I just don't feel great. I think that's really important that you see me as a human being, because I think a lot of people don't. So I don't know. I want that disclaimer out there.
Rachel Zegler's team is pointing fingers again, but this time, they've outdone themselves. According to new insider reports, the reason her highly publicized stage debut is flopping in real time has nothing to do with her lack of star power, dismal box office record, or the trail of PR disasters she's left behind.
Like, who has been the most exciting person for you tonight?
Oh my God.
Besides, took the words out of my mouth. Besides,
Cry me a river. She's just exactly everything that we can't stand.
No, the real culprit? Online backlash. That's right, her team is now floating the idea that TikTok and Twitter are the reason Evita's ticket sales are in freefall, as if a couple of spicy comment threads on social media somehow forced thousands of London theatergoers to click pass on a production that's supposedly headlined by a Golden Globe winner. It's laughable, delusional even, but most of all, it's exactly what we've come to expect from Camp Zegler. Blame the internet, dodge the mirror, because here's the reality no one on her PR team wants to say out loud.
I'm a narcissist.
The problem isn't the comments, it's the silence. The silence from the box office, from the audiences, from the people who were supposed to care. You can't cancel what no one's buying. And in this case, no one's buying. One glance at the seating charts for the London Palladium, an iconic venue that seats over 2,200 people. And it's green as far as the eye can see. Not green as in go, green as in no one's here. Every section, every row, every performance wide open weeks before opening night.
Now looking like it is seriously on life support.
People will wait in line to see.
And these are tickets that start at £29.50. Barely more than a movie and popcorn. So let's not pretend this is a coordinated hate campaign. It's not backlash, it's indifference. A slow, cold shrug from the very audience Zegler and her team thought would fall at her feet the minute she belted a note in heels. And now, with every unsold seat, the myth of Rachel Zegler as a marquee name is collapsing under its own weight. The spotlight isn't being stolen by internet trolls. It was never earned in the first place. You'd think by now, someone on Rachel Zegler's team would have gotten the memo. You can't manufacture demand with a hashtag, but that hasn't stopped them from trying. Every press release, every promo, image, every marketing push for Evita has been drenched in desperate buzzwords.
You know, the original cartoon came out in 1937, and very evidently so. There's a big focus on her love story with a guy who literally stalks her. Weird.
Golden Globe winner, Disney's Snow White, the Hunger Games breakout star. But here's the thing, no matter how many bold font accolades they slap next to her name, they still can't hide the numbers. And right now, the numbers are grim, not just weak, humiliating. We're talking about a production at the London Palladium, one of the most iconic venues in the West End, and they can't even fill a balcony. Forget a packed house. Rachel Zegler can't even spark enough interest to create a rush. The ticketing system's traffic light chart, which typically turns red or orange as seats fill up, looks more like a freshly mowed soccer field, pure green.
But it's hard. And it's lonely. It's very lonely. I just know that if that loneliness can exist, so can other things, and I will be okay.
Every night, every section, every price point. And that's not just bad optics. It's a clear message from the audience. We're not interested. You'd think someone at the studio or the production company would pause and ask the obvious. If Rachel Zegler is truly the rising star Hollywood keeps insisting she is, where are the fans? Spoiler alert, they don't exist. Not in any meaningful numbers. The disconnect between Zegler's industry hype and her actual public appeal is staggering. Studios keep betting big on her, and every time, audiences respond with a collective shrug. West Side Story underperformed. Snow White bombed catastrophically, and now, her attempt to pivot to theater, a move that should have brought credibility and reset the narrative, is collapsing before the curtain even rises.
Rachel Zegler is a no-name actress. She's barely been in anything, actually. If you look at her IMDb, West Side Story was the first one that... it was the first movie she was in, basically.
It's almost like the public saw through the PR campaign months ago and decided to quietly check out. And now the silence in those empty seats is deafening. You can't blame the internet for this one. Rachel Zegler isn't being unfairly targeted. She's being fairly ignored, because no amount of studio-engineered buzz can cover for the fact that she simply isn't a draw. Not at the movies, not on stage, not anywhere that actually counts. Let's stop pretending this is a one-off stumble. What's happening with Evita is not some unfortunate outlier. It's part of a clear, escalating pattern. And at the center of it all is Rachel Zegler, who somehow keeps failing upward while audiences tune out. West Side Story was her arrival. Spielberg personally plucked her from obscurity. It had prestige, press, and the full weight of a major studio behind it.
Well, it just goes to show they shouldn't have hired her. This is not a person that, well, it's just not a person that has any element of draw in whatever she's in.
And yet, it flopped. A global rollout, award show buzz, massive media coverage, and still, barely a dent at the box office. Did the industry take the L and reassess? Of course not. They doubled down. Enter Snow White. This wasn't just any project, it was one of Disney's most iconic fairy tales, with nearly a century of goodwill behind it. And who did they put front and center? Rachel Zegler. Not because audiences were demanding it, but because executives seemed to think they could will her into relevance. What followed was a disaster of historic proportions. A press tour so smug, so tone-deaf, that it practically guaranteed the movie's failure before it ever hit theaters. Zegler rolled her eyes at the original film, called the prince a stalker, and proudly announced the remake would fix all the problems in the classic tale. Translation? She told the entire fan base that the movie wasn't for them anymore, and they listened by staying home.
I don't need your business. Thanks.
Now fast forward to London. Different medium, same result. Her name on the marquee should have meant something. It should have been a draw. Instead, it's a deterrent. Even theater goers, typically more forgiving, more willing to give talent a chance, are steering clear. There's no nostalgia to weaponize, no CGI spectacle to distract, just Rachel. And it turns out that without a billion-dollar machine propping her up, she doesn't have much to offer. No compelling stage presence, no organic fan base, just empty seats and a dwindling list of defenders. So let's be honest, this isn't a string of bad luck. It's not the haters on social media. It's the result of studios forcing a narrative the public never bought into. Rachel Zegler keeps getting handed golden opportunities and squandering them. And now, even the most generous audience in entertainment, the theater crowd, is signaling they've had enough. And while her team scrambles to find someone, anyone, to blame for this Evita embarrassment, they're pretending the internet doesn't have a memory, but we do. We remember exactly how Rachel Zegler landed in this position. She didn't just stumble into Backlash, she practically invited it. Long before the London stage went green with unsold tickets, Zegler was busy alienating the very people she now needs to fill those seats. It all started with a microphone and a misguided sense of superiority. Over and over again. She trashed the original Snow White as weird, outdated, and creepy. She called the prince a stalker. She laughed at the idea of a love story, and in doing so, she alienated millions of fans. Disney loyalists, fairy tale lovers, and families who grew up with that classic.
No, Prince or a different kind of Prince?
I'm sure a lot of people will assume it's a love story just because, like, we cast a guy in the movie. Right. Andrew Burnout, great dude.
Yep.
All of Andrew's scenes could get cut. Who knows? It's Hollywood, baby.
Who the hell are you to say all of Andrew's scenes could get cut? Like, who are you?
Oh my God.
Are you Disney?
Instead of honoring what made Snow White iconic, she dismissed it with the smugness of someone who thought the role made her bulletproof. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Audiences didn't forget, they didn't forgive. And now that same dismissiveness is following her to London, where it's playing out in real time on every ticketing screen. This isn't a coincidence, it's a reckoning. And the real kicker? The same fans she disrespected are the ones who would have shelled out cash to see her on stage had she shown an ounce of respect for the material that got her here in the first place. But instead, she positioned herself above the very audiences she needed. And now they're repaying that arrogance the only way theatergoers know how, by not showing up. And no, this isn't some grand conspiracy of online trolls tanking a theater run. That would imply there's a demand to suppress. There isn't. The average London theatergoer doesn't care about your verified badge or your TikTok engagement. They care about whether you belong on that stage. And when your reputation precedes you, when it's tainted by months of viral interviews, fan base feuds, and failed box office gambles, people don't just avoid you, they forget you. Evita was supposed to be the comeback, the redemptive third act. But instead of delivering a Broadway-worthy performance, Rachel's selling out nothing except her credibility. And the silence from the audience? That's not backlash. That's clarity. The thing about Rachel Zegler's downfall is it was entirely predictable, and yet Hollywood acted like it was impossible. After the Snow White debacle, any rational studio would have pressed pause, let the dust settle, let her prove herself in smaller, low-stakes projects. But no, instead of listening to audiences, the industry doubled down, propping her up as if sheer willpower could force the public into caring. And the result? Exactly what we're seeing now in London. A show-stopping flop with ticket charts that look like a ghost town. The theater is massive, the marketing budget is real, and still nothing.
I never want it to come off as me being ungrateful for the opportunities.
The only crowd Zegler is drawing these days is the one refreshing the Evita site to check if even a single row has sold out yet. Spoiler, they haven't. And yet, in the face of all this, her team refuses to course correct. Instead, they've shifted into a full-blown fantasy narrative, insisting that online backlash is what's keeping audiences away. Not the fact that Zegler has become synonymous with ego, not the fact that she managed to insult a Disney legacy, alienate a fan base, and leave a trail of awkward, smug interviews in her wake. Not the fact that she's been handed role after role without the box office to back it up. No. In their minds, it's the fault of the internet. The same internet that saw this coming months ago. The same internet that warned this exact crash was inevitable. Because here's the part they don't want to admit. Rachel Zegler isn't failing because people hate her. She's failing because people stopped caring. There's no curiosity, no buzz, no FOMO, just apathy. And in an industry driven by hype and momentum, apathy is the death knell, especially in theater, where ticket sales are as close as it gets to brutal public truth. And now that truth is printed in green across every unsold seat at the London Palladium, the public has moved on. And Zegler, who once thought she could out-talk the backlash, is discovering something far worse than criticism, being ignored. That's what happens when hype collapses, and reality walks on stage instead. If there's one thing Hollywood knows how to do, it's cut its losses quietly. And when it comes to Rachel Zegler, that's exactly what seems to be happening. No loud cancellations. No official distancing statements. Just a slow, deliberate unraveling of support from the very people who once swore she was the future. The director shoutouts? Gone. The castmate reposts? Silent. Even her Evita co-stars. People who would normally be hyping up the production like their paychecks depended on it are nowhere to be found. No behind-the-scenes candids, no cozy rehearsal footage, no glowing press junket moments. It's almost as if everyone knows exactly what's coming, and no one wants to be standing too close when it hits. That kind of silence isn't accidental, it's strategy. Because in an industry as image-obsessed as this one, being seen aligning with a liability is worse than staying invisible. Producers are already tiptoeing around her name. Press teams are keeping her out of festival predictions. Even legacy publications that once wrote glowing profiles are now adding disclaimers like controversial actress or known for polarizing interviews.
I will elbow everyone out of the way to play the part.
It's the Hollywood version of ghosting, and Zegler, whether she realizes it or not, is getting iced out in real time. And what does her team do in response? Keep pushing, keep spinning, keep acting like this is just part of some heroic underdog arc where Rachel emerges triumphant after being misunderstood. But the problem is, no one's buying that narrative anymore. Not the press, not the fans, not even the people still cashing checks off her name. Because when even your own camp starts tiptoeing through the press cycle like they're avoiding a landmine, it's not a comeback, it's a cover-up. The reality is, Rachel Zegler isn't being sabotaged. She's being passed over, quietly, strategically. And with each new project that underperforms, each interview that goes viral for the wrong reasons, that pass grows colder. Because this industry doesn't wait for you to figure it out, it replaces you. And right now there are dozens of young actresses waiting to take her place. Talented, humble, professional. Everything Zegler was supposed to be, and still isn't. What makes all of this even more surreal is how completely detached Rachel Zegler seems from the mess she's in. While her team is allegedly scrambling behind the scenes, massaging press contacts, quietly pressuring theater journalists to highlight her vocal range, Zegler herself is out here acting like everything's fine. Like her career isn't circling the drain in real time. Instead of showing any awareness, any course correction, she's doubling down. Cryptic Instagram posts, vague quotes about being tired of narratives, TikToks where she flashes a smirk like the audience should be apologizing to her. And it's not just bizarre, it's insulting. This is the same performer who publicly trashed the story that made her famous, made interview after interview about how the original Snow White was weird, outdated, and not something little girls should look up to, then acted shocked when the backlash hit. And now she's wondering why the theater community isn't rallying behind her, why ticket sales are flatlining even as she gets top billing in one of the most iconic roles in musical theater history. The disconnect is almost impressive, because Rachel Zegler doesn't just miss the mark, she misses the whole conversation. And make no mistake, this isn't about cancel culture or people not giving her a chance. This is about audiences calling out arrogance when they see it. It's about seeing a performer talk down to the very people expected to pay for the ticket and saying, actually, no thanks. And instead of listening, instead of learning, Zegler appears more interested in playing the victim, in painting herself as the misunderstood artist drowning in a sea of online cruelty. But when the seats are still unsold, when the same pattern follows her from project to project, it's not a conspiracy, it's a reality check. The bottom line, audiences aren't confused, they're just done. Done pretending that a PR machine equals talent. Done rewarding stars who treat every platform like a lecture hall. And the longer Zegler acts like she's above the mess she helped create, the deeper she digs the hole.
Rachel didn't even seem like she cared or liked the source material. I mean, that is just far from a graceful Disney princess-like promotion. It's far from what you would think Disney wanted.
Because at some point, self-awareness isn't a bonus. It's the bare minimum, and she's not even close. The problem now isn't just Rachel Zegler's attitude, it's the ripple effect. Because when one performer keeps turning every job into a headline for all the wrong reasons, it doesn't just affect them. It affects the cast, the crew, the producers, the investors, and more, people in the industry are starting to quietly admit what's becoming obvious. She's not just a risk, she's a liability. Ask around in casting circles, and you'll hear the new buzzword that's getting attached to her name behind closed doors, uninsurable. And in Hollywood speak, that's the kiss of death. Studios don't want to risk headlines. They don't want to risk walkouts, rewrites, or Twitter pylons before a film even has a trailer. And right now, Rachel Zegler's involvement in a project guarantees at least one of those. That's why more and more projects are allegedly retooling casting choices. Not officially dropping her, of course. No one wants to burn that bridge outright, yet. But they're conveniently citing scheduling conflicts. Or quietly replacing her name on pitch decks with someone less likely to go viral for the wrong reasons. The industry speaks in code, and the code around Zegler is shifting, fast. And don't think this stops with film. Even theater insiders, who are famously more forgiving of eccentricity, are raising eyebrows. Stage managers are whispering about off-kilter energy. Veteran actors are sidestepping press appearances, and behind the velvet curtain, there's a creeping awareness that this production of Evita might end up remembered for everything except the performance. That's the worst-case scenario for a live show, and it's happening in real time. But maybe the most telling detail of all? The silence. Not one high-profile co-star has stepped forward to praise her. Not one glowing review from the rehearsal room. Not even the usual PR fluff about how dedicated or transformative she's been in the role. That silence isn't accidental, it's strategic. Because when the whole room is holding its breath, waiting for the next misstep, it means trust is gone. And without trust, there's no audience, no co-stars, and no second act. Just a spotlight, flickering, waiting for someone else to step into it. What's even more telling than industry retreat? The media shift. Remember when every outlet couldn't stop calling Rachel Zegler the voice of a generation? When headlines fawned over her boldness and authenticity like it was some revolutionary act instead of basic PR spin? Yeah, those days are over. Fast forward to now, and the tone has changed completely. The same reporters who once breathlessly hailed her as the next big thing are suddenly hedging, controversial, polarizing, embattled. That's the language creeping into every article now. And if you've been in Hollywood long enough, you know what that means? They're preparing to distance themselves. It's like the entire entertainment press just remembered what objectivity is.
What would you say to those who are just kind of overly critiquing the film at this point? You've worked so hard on it.
I'm getting on across. Hold on. Here. Yeah, hold on.
All right.
Because now, instead of glowing profiles and gushing write-ups, we're getting cautious coverage. Evita's ticket sales, being reported bluntly, the London Palladium disaster, mentioned without softening the blow. And her fans? Even they're starting to lose patience. Reddit threads are filled with ex-supporters saying they've given up. Twitter, once a haven for leave-her-alone defenders, is now full of, I wanted to root for her, but enough is enough. That's not a narrative Zegler's team can spin. It's a cultural mood shift, and it's turning fast. There's also a growing resentment brewing beneath the surface. Not just from the public, but from industry workers, the unsung professionals who make productions run, crew members, costume designers, assistants, people who don't have the luxury of walking away from a job just because a lead actress is being difficult. The ones who've allegedly had to deal with Zegler's behind-the-scenes antics without the benefit of a Twitter platform or PR defense. Those are the people quietly spreading the word. Don't sign up for a Zegler project, unless you're ready for turbulence. So now the narrative isn't Rachel's misunderstood. It's Rachel's exhausting, and that's far worse. Misunderstood stars get redemption arcs. Exhausting ones get quietly iced out. And when the media starts leaning into the latter, when they stop writing puff pieces and start publishing postmortems, you know the pendulum isn't just swinging, it's already swung. The Golden Girl treatment is over, and all that's left now is the fallout. So where does Rachel Zegler go from here, if anywhere at all? Because this isn't just a PR rough patch. It's a full-blown identity crisis unraveling in real time. Every ticket unsold, every project delayed, every headline that used to be about her promise now quietly burying her name beneath words like underwhelming and difficult. She came into this industry with the world handed to her. Spielberg's endorsement, Disney's backing, a press machine begging to turn her into a household name, and somehow she managed to fumble it all. Not with one mistake, but with a pattern of arrogance, entitlement, and complete refusal to read the room. Because in this business, you don't have to be perfect, but you do have to be likable, or at the very least, self-aware. And Rachel Zegler still hasn't figured out that Hollywood isn't her personal therapy session. Audiences don't pay for growth narratives wrapped in thin-skinned interviews and backhanded lectures. They want stars who show up, put in the work, and know how to connect. What Zegler's given them instead is a one-woman show about how hard it is to be adored, without actually earning the adoration. Now, with Evita circling the drain, with ticket sales flatlining and industry insiders backing away in real time, the writing isn't just on the wall, it's being projected in 4K. If this was supposed to be the stage comeback that fixed her image, it's backfired harder than anyone could have predicted. She's not the victim, she's the common denominator. And the longer her team tries to blame online backlash or misogyny or Gen Z haters, the more laughable it all becomes. At some point, someone's got to say it plainly. The audience isn't wrong, they're just over it. So here's the question. Can Rachel Zegler come back from this? Can she salvage what's left of her Hollywood goodwill? Or has she finally exhausted the last bit of patience from an industry that's already moved on? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you've been watching this crash in slow motion, and don't forget to subscribe, because the next video on your screen is waiting. And trust me, you won't believe what's coming next.